Hello, Richard Neville here with a little video on how to schedule and host a Zoom meeting. Zoom's a virtual meeting platform that you can use for virtual listing presentations, virtual open houses. You could even do virtual tours of your property, maybe meet with your clients one-on-one, meet with your team members, colleagues, family, friends. So it's a kind of multitude of uses that you can use throughout this whole stay-at-home order, or whatever it's called right now. But either way, so it's a way for you to stay in contact with people without actually physically being with them. All right, so let's take a look at this. So if you haven't already created a Zoom account, you'll want to go to zoom.us and then go ahead and there'll be a button over here on the top right that says sign up, it's free. You can go ahead and click that, create your free account. If you haven't, and then go ahead and log in. If you're not logged in, but you already have an account, go ahead and log in and we'll get started. Okay, so we'll go ahead and click the My Account button, and that's going to bring us over to our account where we can schedule a meeting. Okay, I just want to touch on a couple little things really fast here before we continue on. There is a couple different ways to use Zoom. So Zoom is, I'm right here, I'm in the browser window, going to zoom.us. So I'm using the web version of Zoom, where we can schedule a meeting and kind of and go into our account and do different things in our account. But in order to actually host the meeting, we're going to have it installed on our computer or the app on our phone. So you'll need to go to either resources here and download Zoom client, or when we go to run the meeting, it's going to give us the ability to download and run Zoom. So if you do not have it already installed on your computer, you're going to want to go ahead and install it. So you can just hover over resources up here, go to download Zoom client, and then click the download button, install that on your computer, and that will install Zoom desktop for your computer. Okay, and this is where you can schedule a meeting here and do stuff here. We'll take a look at this in a little bit when we go to run the meeting, but this is going to be where you actually host your meetings through the Zoom desktop version or through the Zoom mobile app, where you can get through the App Store or Google Play. But you can set up and host your meetings through the web version here. So let's go and click schedule a meeting, and we'll go ahead and get our meeting scheduled. But I just want to let you know that you will need to have Zoom installed on your computer in order to run the meeting from your computer. And if you're going to run it from your phone, you're going to need the app on your phone. Okay, so with that said, let's continue on. So we'll go ahead and schedule meeting. And like I said, you can do that from here as well. But I'm just going to stick with this for now because this allows me to X out my personal meeting ID. So then that way in this video, my personal meeting ID is not going out on the web. So that's why we're going to do it this way, but it's going to be the same process whether you're doing it from here or your phone. You're basically going to be just setting up the time, date, name, and that stuff of your meeting, and then it'll come in here like this tab to where you can start the meeting. Okay, so let's go ahead and schedule this meeting. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and give it a name. I'm going to do a virtual listing presentation for seller. You can go ahead and give like an optional description if you want. Put in whatever pertinent details that you might feel necessary for this meeting. You're going to go ahead and set the date and time. So let's just go ahead and set a time and date for when we plan on meeting with this seller. And then here is one of our little things that we have to pay attention to. So basically, within the free account from Zoom, if you're using the free account, if you haven't upgraded, then you're going to be limited to 40-minute long meetings if you have more than 3 people. So you can have up to 100 people in a meeting, but that's going to be limited to 40 minutes. If you're just doing like a one-on-one meeting with you and maybe like your seller here, then you are able to schedule that for longer than 40 minutes. Okay, so just so you know, it's going to be limited to 40 minutes with 3 or more people. And you can have up to 100 people, but if you're just doing one-on-one, you can go beyond the 40 minutes, okay? So we're gonna leave this scheduled for 1 hour, and then we're gonna leave our time zone. Just make sure that it's the correct time zone, because it will, potentially create issues if you think you're set it at one time, but then the time zone was off, and now your people are coming at another time to go to your meeting. So just make sure that your time zone is correct. If you're going to be doing some sort of recurring meeting, if you're going to be, meeting with your team or something once a week at this time and date, then you can just make this recurring, and then that way you'll have a set weekly or whatever time frame you set meeting set up. So your meeting ID, which I mentioned earlier, which I kind of X'd out here, this is going to be a automatically generated meeting ID for each meeting. So then that way nobody's able to like Zoom bomb you if they see your meeting, if they have the meeting ID and weren't necessarily invited to the meeting. This way it just kind of protects you. That was one of the security issues that they ran into, in which they also included this require meeting password. So then that way you're able to put an extra layer of security on this meeting by requiring somebody to put in a password if they're going to just be entering the meeting with the meeting ID. So once you share out the URL to your meeting, the meeting ID as well as the password will be contained in that URL. So when they click it, it should just bring them over to the meeting without them without being required to enter the password. So if you have any questions about that, let me know. But I mean, you can leave it on. It's just an extra layer of security. And then that way, if you're sharing out the link, people aren't gonna have to enter in the password additionally. So, but just so you know, they've wanted to give you an extra layer of security, and this is one of the ways that they did that, okay? For the video, so do you want your video to be on when you're doing the meeting? If you want you to be seen and people to, your video camera to be on, then you're gonna want this on. If you're gonna be meeting with people where you're gonna be interacting, where you want their video on too, or at least give them the option to have it on, then you're gonna put the participant on as well, okay? If you have it off, then they're not gonna be able to share their screen or share their camera. Audio, so audio, telephone and computer audio, that allows your users or your participants to connect through the telephone if they maybe wanted to join the meeting, but they didn't have access to a computer or phone or like mobile device that had a working speaker on it and they couldn't hear. Or maybe they just have issues hearing and they needed to connect to the phone. Either way, this gives them the ability to use their computer or mobile device as well as a call in with a phone number. And then here's a couple options, a new option that they've automatically enabled. So that's the waiting room. So the waiting room will require you to allow people into the meeting. If you don't allow them into the meeting, then they will not join the meeting, okay? So this is one of the other layers of security that they've added. So this gives you the ability to accept or reject people from entering your meeting. So you can enable the join before host, but just so you know, if you have the waiting room on, people aren't necessarily going to be able to join before you because you're not able to approve them if you're not there, okay? So we'll leave that off for now since we have the waiting room on. And then do we want to mute the participants upon entry? I would recommend this. That way you don't have a lot of chaos going on when people are entering the meeting, especially if people maybe enter the meeting late, or if they, you let them join early and maybe they don't know their mic's on and they're saying things that maybe aren't, they wouldn't have said if they knew the microphone was on. Okay, so then that way just mutes everybody as soon as they enter, and then they'll have the ability to either unmute themselves or you to unmute them. And then do you want to record the meeting automatically on your computer? So this way, as soon as you start the meeting, it'll just begin recording, and then as soon as you end the meeting, it will begin to compile the video into a MP4 that then you can share out. You're able to pause and stop the recording at any time throughout your meeting, which we'll see here in a minute, okay? So once we have all of our settings done for our meeting, we're going to go ahead and save it and schedule it. All right, so now that we're here, we have our meeting saved, and it's scheduled out. It's going to be scheduled for whatever time and date you scheduled it for, and then you have these add to calendar. So that's going to allow you to add this to your personal calendar. So it'll go ahead and save it onto your either Google Calendar, Outlook Calendar, Yahoo Calendar. It will list here the meeting ID for this particular meeting, as well as give you the password. You have the URL, so this is the join URL. So this would be the link that you could share out to, if you're going to be doing the virtual open house, that you put the link into the MLS. This would be the link that you could put right in there. This could be, you could use this link wherever that they ask for the link, but they also give you the ability to copy the full invitation here. So this will give you, the name of the meeting, the time, date, the URL, as well as the meeting ID and password. So you just copy this meeting ID, paste it into a body of an email. When you send it off, it will be a clickable link that your clients will receive in the email, that they can just follow that link when it's time for the meeting and go ahead and join it. And we can see that we have the meeting ID is there, and then our hashed password, PWD, is here. So like I mentioned earlier, if people have this URL, then they will not be required to re-enter that password when entering your meeting. They just have to follow the URL. All right. So let's go ahead and cancel that. And then we're all set. Okay. So this just kind of goes through all of our options that we've done. All right. So we could, when we go to run our meeting, we can go log into this web version, and then we can go to our meetings, and then we can go to start meeting, whichever meeting we're going to be doing, and then go ahead and start it from here. Or, like mentioned earlier, we could use the desktop version, okay? So this is where you will have your upcoming meeting listed right up here, and then you can go ahead and start it, all right? I'm going to go ahead and start this other meeting because I already kind of logged into it on my phone. So then that way I can show you how to accept people within the waiting room when we go to start our meeting, okay? So I'm going to go ahead, and now we're pretending that we're ready for our meeting. Well, just one caveat here. Get in and practice. So I can start this meeting right now. I can end it, and this meeting will still be saved. So if you go ahead and spend time playing around with this, maybe invite somebody to join in order to play around with the controls of this meeting so you're familiar with them when you begin doing your meeting. Today, I'm just going to kind of show you what these tools are so you have an idea where they're at, but I would definitely suggest you come in here and run your own little meeting with your family member or friend or something that can, you can interact with and, play with the tools that are built in here. So then when it's time for you to run your actual real meeting, then you do feel comfortable, okay? All right, so I can see we already have my meeting ID up here that I'll have to blank out in the, I was trying to hide that for you guys, but I guess I went to a page that has it in there. But either way, okay, so now we're assuming now that we've come in, we're ready to do our meeting. So like I said, you could either go into the web version or onto your desktop version or the mobile version and start your meeting. So whichever meeting, whatever the time and date of the meeting that's coming up, you click the start button, and that's going to go ahead and launch your meeting. And then here we are. We're on screen. Let me go ahead and close this one out here. Come back here. I'm going to go ahead and join with computer audio. And then here we go. So while I'm here, if I click, I'm going to go ahead and sign in. Well, here, let me just show you a couple things here really fast. This recording is on. And like I mentioned earlier, so we set that in our settings for our video, for our meeting, is we wanted to allow it to record right away as soon as we start our meeting. So then that way we don't have to worry about clicking the record button, or remember to click the record button when we are beginning our meeting. and then it'll just be there recorded for us to go ahead and use once we're ready. Okay, so let's take a look at this stuff here. I'm going to go ahead and join without video on my phone, and now we see this. So when people join in, this is an example of the waiting room. So you can admit or see waiting room. So let's go ahead and see the waiting room. So we have people that are attempting to join the meeting through their phone or through their computer or wherever they're joining the meeting. It's going to come in and be in this waiting area, and where you can remove and admit them. So this is what that automatically enabled option was when we were scheduling the meeting. So it said in a waiting room. This is what it is. So if you want, so this is up to you. I'm just telling you what it is. So whether you want to use it or not within your meetings, you would, for some people, this might be a distraction. If you trying to start a meeting and people are popping in and you have to admit them and stuff like that. But it's just an example of one of the features that they've added for the security reasons. So just so you know, this is what it is. And when you admit them, it's going to pop in. And then here we go. Now we have them added to the meeting. And then we can see here that we have our different views. So we can change the view of what's going on here with our participants, okay? All right, so now that we have our people in here, we can invite additional people. We can mute everybody, but as we did earlier, we have muted everybody upon entry. And then you have some additional abilities here where you can lock the meeting. So say you had, your list of people, you know exactly who are supposed to come into the meeting. They entered the meeting, then you can lock it, and then that way no one else can join this meeting. So that's an additional security feature that's available within Zoom. Okay, so now we're locked, nobody else can get in. You can turn off the waiting room. So maybe you didn't want to continue accepting or rejecting people or whatever the case may be, you can turn that off from here. So you can disable the waiting room, and then people will just be able to freely join without you having to accept them in. All right. Then you can allow participants to rename themselves. So if I wanted to have a different name than Richard's iPhone, I would be able to go in and change my name. Okay. And then do you want to mute people on entry, which we did, and do you want to allow participants to unmute themselves? So this was something to keep in mind. So if you are maybe running a meeting where you're doing a presentation that you are not, you're going to take questions later, you might not want to let the people unmute themselves. But if it's going to be like a meeting where you guys have free flow of engagement and back and forth, then where they can mute and unmute themselves. When other people are talking, they might want to mute themselves so they could do something, and then they unmute themselves and they want to talk. So that gives them that ability. So just keep in mind that this would be a default option for them to be able to unmute themselves. So that would be something that you can set up before you go ahead and let people into the meeting. Okay. All right, so this is some of what's going on over here. And then you have the ability over here to ask, if somebody doesn't have their video on, you can ask them, request that they share their video. You can make them the host. So now they can, maybe share their screen or, kind of run the meeting. Okay. You can rename somebody. So I can go ahead and rename them myself. You can put people in waiting rooms. So maybe you wanted to not necessarily remove, because remove is another option. But if you wanted to maybe, put somebody in timeout or something, and you wanted to kind of get them out of the meeting, where you could put them back in, you still have the ability to accept them back into the meeting, where if you remove them, you're going to be kicking them out of the meeting completely. And then you have the ability to report somebody. Okay. So then you can, maybe they hacked into your meeting or something, which all these safety measures that have been enabled shouldn't let that happen. But, for whatever reason something happens and you wanted to report one of the users, you're able to do that, okay? And then you also have some additional stuff over here, which is the same as over here, okay? So this is just the visual version, and then this is the participant list, okay? So it has this drop-down menu which asks to start. You can chat specifically with this, directly with this person, rename, make host, so a lot of the same options that are over here, okay? So just so you know, you're able to reach virtually those same options from the more over here or up the 3 dots on the actual user themselves, okay? All right, now let's move through some of the stuff at the bottom here, okay? So you're able to mute yourself. So if you click this, I was muted there. So for whatever reason you might need to use that, that is the mute for yourself. But then there's also options. So say you wanted to, if you had earbuds or something you wanted to use and you had the microphone in that and you wanted to use that microphone instead of the one in your computer. So this will give you the options for you to connect to, for you yourself when running your meeting, for your microphone and speakers and stuff like that, okay? All right, now this video here, it's running my video, my camera, as you can see me on the screen. If I click stop video, that's gonna put my name up and it's gonna be similar to my iPhone. So there it is, okay? So that's just me stopping my video. I'm gonna go ahead and put it back on, and there I am again. So that just turned off my camera, is the stop video. Then you can choose like your virtual background. So if you wanted to put a background in here, you select virtual background, and that's gonna pop up your settings where you can either install one of these or you can upload your own, all right? And there's additional options in here, which we're not gonna go through right now. We're trying to stick it to the basics of just running your meeting, but you can go ahead and look at those when you're, practicing and, getting comfortable in there. Security, so this is where we have the options where to enable the waiting room, which we turned off when we were looking at it over here, and we locked the meeting. So you can, some of those same options are gonna be here in the security. So do you wanna lock the meeting, have the waiting room? Do you wanna allow participants to share their screen where they can go ahead and, if you let them share their screen, they would be able to put their screen on, in the video or in the meeting. Do you want to allow them to chat? Do you want to allow them to rename themselves? Do you want to remove people or report people? So this is like obviously this is your security tab. So this allows you to, regulate your meeting. Participants. So this here is our participants, and then that's listing them out over here. This just changes our view, whether we have that sidebar on there or not, okay? And in the sidebar, if we go to the chat, that's gonna give us the chat feature. So you can put in, that's 1, 2, 3, where you can chat. So this is going to everyone in the whole meeting, but I can also put it to just specific people. So if I wanted to chat privately with somebody, I would be able to do that. You can also upload a file. So if you had some sort of PDF or, whether it's like for your listing presentation or maybe it's a property flyer for your virtual open house for people to download, or it's whatever the case may be, you can upload and put a flyer in there. So like some market reports or something like that, you're able to put that in there, and then your participants will be able to download that file and save it to their phone or their computer or wherever. So it's a way for you to share information, share documents with people through the meeting, okay? And then we have some options here for participants. So this was basically by default, what it does is it allows everyone to chat publicly and privately with themselves. So publicly, they'll send out, if they chat publicly, it's gonna go out to the whole group. If they chat privately, just like how we have here, where we can select just to go to another participant within the meeting. So by default, it'll be selected as share publicly and privately, but you have the ability to do it where they only chat publicly, where they can only chat with the host, or they're unable to chat completely. And then you can also save your chat. So maybe you had some questions that you weren't able to maybe answer, and then you had to get back to people, or if you just wanted to save the log of all of your whole chat, you're able to go ahead and save your chat, and that'll save everything from within this, with all your chats between everybody throughout your meeting. Okay. Share screen. So share screen, this is where people, will be able to share their screen, or yourself, I'm sorry. So if we select this, it's going to put up everything that is open on our computer. So if I open up my browser window, it's going to bring up, and click share, it's going to bring up my browser. So whatever I'm looking at on my browser, it's going to bring up that browsing window. Okay, and then our kind of meeting options are going to be moved up to the top while we're sharing screen. So if you wanted to stop sharing screen, just click the stop share. Or if you wanted to change what you're sharing, so say maybe you want to go from your browser to a PDF you want to share. So I have my Adobe already open with the PDF. So I'm going to go ahead and click share and then bring it over to Adobe, and then click share, and that's going to now share, oops, what happened there? Whatever I have on my screen, or whatever I have in Adobe. So this is where you can go ahead and share different things that are open on your computer. So we stop share, we're back here. You're also able to connect like with the whiteboard. So if you wanted to, draw something or chat, do whatever on here, type stuff out, take notes, you're able to do that, okay? Highlight, erase things. So this is like a whiteboard, so if you were working on maybe a project with somebody, you were able to kind of put it out, all your ideas on a board in front of everybody, okay? You stop share, and if you are like an iPhone or iPad user, you're able to connect to your iPhone or iPad and share the screen of your mobile device in the meeting. So you can connect either through the cable of your phone or iPad, or as well as AirPlay. So you can see here's my Finder, here's another thing I have open, here's my desktop instead of just my browser window, and some other tabs that I have open. So it's going to basically give you the ability to connect to anything that's open on your computer. So just so you know that, okay? So if you have something open already, like I have my Adobe with the PDF already open, it's going to give you that ability. If you do not have it open, it's not going to give you that ability, okay? So just get your documents that you want to have ready open in whatever program you're going to display them in before you share your screen. So then that way they're going to be listed within these optional screen shares, okay? All right, so let's go back here and let's get out of this. Oops, close this out. So that is kind of how you share your screen. If you have any questions about that, let me know. But as long as you have something open on your computer, you should be able to share that with your participants. Okay, so this is your stop and pause recording, pause, stop recording, which you also have up here. So that's like if you wanted to pause the recording for something sensitive, or you're done, stop it, but then you ended up wanting to talk about stuff off the record, whatever the case may be, this is where you can pause and stop your recording. Okay. You do have the ability, so reactions. So I don't know if you guys have attended meetings, you have people where they can raise their hand and stuff like that, where that will notify you as the, let me see if I can do that from here, my phone. Raise hand. So Richard Neville iPhone raised hand, okay? So we see it over here, and then if we have this open, it's gonna have the hand up here. So that is kind of how you see if people raise their hand, and then maybe they have a question or something, especially if you have like a larger meeting where there's more people involved, you'd be able to see that raised hand. But you are also able to display reactions of your own. So say maybe somebody was talking and you wanted to congratulate, you really like what they said. So you give somebody a clap hands. Or maybe you ask people for a question, or give somebody a thumbs up, or even you can ask other people and say, hey, give me a thumbs up if blah, 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 blah. So now you can get engagement and encourage engagement from the people with the reactions. So that's what the reactions are. So just so you know, they're used whenever you feel necessary, but that's what they are, and how you can kind of request engagement from your people by trying to get them to give you a thumbs up or something. All right, and then here we are basically wrapping up here at the end meeting. So once you're done with your meeting, click on meeting, and you can end meeting for all. You're able to leave the meeting, so if you pass it off to a new host or something, and they're going to go ahead and run with it, I guess that would be the reason why you leave your own meeting. But otherwise, you just end the meeting for all, and that's going to go ahead and begin the compiling of the video and then the saving it to your computer. So let's take a look at that. We're going to go ahead and end this meeting, and then we will see our meeting is being converted. So this is where your meeting will be converted from the audio file and the video file, put it all together into an actual like MP4 that you're able to share out on social media or those kinds of. Oops, let me kind of open up my video again here. So you're able to, you did an amazing virtual open house that had some great questions, and you thought it was super successful. You had a number of people, you went through the house perfect, you had all these great questions that you answered, and you want to share that out to your social media and promote it and get more people to see that property. You would be able to take this video, upload it to Facebook or whatever social media platform you want to use, and you're able to reuse this video for another purpose after you've done your open house or whatever it is. So, obviously not all things you're going to want to share out after the fact, but, this gives you that ability if it is something that you wanted to, get out there and get more use out of. All right, thank you, everyone. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this. If you have any questions, give me a call or email, and I can answer whatever you have are having troubles with or questions you may have. All right, thanks. Take it easy. Bye now.